Elul, marks the Hilula of a really great rabbi from Turkey, from Izmir. His name was Harav Rachamim Aryeh Avraham Aryesh. Zeche Tzadik Libracha, great rabbi of his time. I'm not sure when he was actually born, but he passed away, chronicled over in the year 1839. We're talking about 186 years ago here from the time of recording. He wasn't just a great rabbi, he was also a judge, a Diyan, he was a Darshan, a rabbi giving over grandiose sermons. He would also be a payatan, a poet also, Izmir, and was author of the Torah colossal work called the Siftei Rananot, respectively. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the very famous rabbi's life. Now, he was actually famously a Talmid of Rabbi Yitzchak Gatilian, a very, very great rabbi. He happened to be a rabbi we've also spoken about on various occasions before. He happened to have passed away in the year 1800. I believe Rabbi Yitzchak Gatiano. He was a very great rabbi. He was the author of a great book called the Tufat Ra'em and various other books also. And his rabbi was actually a son of Rabbi Yitzchak Gatiano, respectively over there. I think Harishon, as it's named after, and was author of also the Beit Yitzchak, the Beit Mo'ad, the Migon L'Simcha, and various other great Torah colossal works in of itself, respectively. So that's very, very interesting. So he was learning under his. And I think it's actually quoted Mechabes Sefer Beit Yitzchak, this with regard to Rabbi Yitzchak Gatiano, and it says over here, Den Hirana Kad Hayuna Talia B'Yemei Chorfei Mikudmoni Sheiti Lomet Torah Ifnei Mori Harab Baal Beit Yitzchak, just talking about with regards to how he learned Torah under his auspices. I think this is actually quoted from the Siftei Ranot, I think from the Rush Assyri, respectively, over there. Also, he would actually learn under auspices of another great rabbi over there called Rab Baruch Kalamot, another great rabbi we actually mentioned about and maybe dedicated video, if I'm not mistaken, himself. He passed away, Rab Baruch did, in the year 1825. He happened to have been actually a Rosh Yeshiva and a great posek in Izmir. He was the author of the Torah colossal work called Avek Derachim. He was a very, very famous rabbi at that stage in time, and he was a rabbi of many, many great rabbis, not just Rabbi Aryeh, הכהן, Aryesh, also Rabbi Yitzchak El-Ranti, also Rabbi Yitzchak Nevarno, and Rabbi Nisim Chaim Moshe Modai, really great rabbis of the highest caliber of that stage in time. So you can see just a great nucleus and the great chabora of the great rabbanim in itself. Okay, so that's very interesting. So he would really work within regards to in a Torah sphere in of itself. We become, I believe, a chazan in Izmir, a poet also, a chazan, a cantor, respectively. I work as a shlich tzibur, or especially he be the cantor on Shabbat and on festivals, very similar festivals, Chagim or Ma'adim, respectively, over there, and was known as a very, very famous one that we actually have to point out over here. So he was really, really doing grandiose places in of itself. And I think another famous rabbi would actually have a connection with him. Rabbi Chaim Pelagi would actually testify to his brilliance, especially at the time of a Simchat Beit HaShoeva, within regards to his. It actually states over here, I think, Ben Dodo Shel HaChabith, Rabbi Yisrael Moshe Chazan, B'Sefer Karach Shel Rumi, Daf Bet Amud Aleph. It says, Toch Diyun Hilchati, Al Shiluf Manginot Goyim B'Tfilah, Ma'id Eidut Yitzin Dofen Al Rabbi Avraham. It says over here, within regards to just a testimony within regards to him. I'll just state what it says prior to it, and then we'll go on. This is actually, I think, what Rabbi Chaim Pelagi will actually quote within regards to him over here. I'm just going to state it in Hebrew over here. ובימינו זכינו לשמוע לתרי גברי רב רבי, הרב כבוד יום טוב, והרב שפתי רנות, זיכרונו לברכה, שהיו משוררים, אין ספק דמלאכי, מרום היו באים לשמוע, אשרי אז אוזן דשמעה דלא אניחו אחריהם, אפילו לשליש לרביעי. Just speaking about within regards to his brilliant as chazanot, I'm just speaking about the Rav Pelagi, I believe he quotes within regards to him, and I think also a cousin of the Rav Chaim Pelagi, someone great rabbi named Rabbi Yisrael Moshe Chazan, in his author book called the Sefer Karach Shel Rumi, I think on the second page over there, he will actually quote over here, Uma'id ani alai, Shomai, סמים, בארץ שבהיותי בעיר גדולה של חכמים ושל סופרים סמרינה. ראיתי מגדולי חכמים המפורסמים שהיו משוררים גדולים על משקל המוסיקה. בראשם הרב המופלא אברהם הכהן ארייש, זיכרונו לברכה, speaking about his greatness with regards to him, quoting him. הולכים בכנסיית הנוצרים מאחרי הפרגות בימי חגם לתלמיד מהם אותו הקול המוכנע המשבר הלב, והיו מסדרים אותם הקולות קדושות דבר פלא, ומעשה רב כזה היא סיוע גדול על כל האומר מפורש לאל ודאי בזה. Just talking about basically testifying to his brilliance, especially as a chazan and as a person in of its own right, within regards to the greatness within regards to him. It says here, as stating he bears witness that heavens and earth, that while he was in this great city of the sages, especially in that specific locale, he was one of the most famous sages at that point in time, a great poet, and the scale of music within regards to him was wonderful, let's just say, in of itself. And just stating about really, really the greatness from a chazanut perspective within regards to him. Okay, now it's actually interesting. We can add more interesting tidbits within regards to the great Rabbi. I think he was part of the bet in the Jewish court of Rabbi Raphael Yosef Chazan, who he himself happened to be the author of the Shelot Shuvot, the Torah question and answer book called the Chikrei Lev. What's interesting about Rabbi Yosef Chazan, he was not just Pasek Halacha, he was one of the great rabbis of Izmir in his time. He was also a great rabbi in Hebron in Jerusalem. And one other actual tidbit with regards to him, he was a chief rabbi of Jerusalem, the 18th one, between the years 1818 to 1820 respectively. So he was very, very much a great rabbi. Actually, sandwiched between Rabbi Yaakov Koral and Rabbi Yom Tov Danan are also respectively the Harav Raphael happened to have been, which we also have to point out. So you can see really the great caliber he was actually under inside the Jewish courts in of itself. And he was also, I think, working in within regards to the realms of Gittin, I believe, in under auspices of Rabbi Shlomo Hakim, another great rabbi we've spoken about before. In fact, Rav Shlomo Hakim was so great, he was one of the great rabbis of Bazmir, and he was author of the Perush, the Melechet Shlomo, I think, which was on the Mishnah Torah of the Rambam, respectively, also. And he was known, Rav Rachamim was, within regards to this humility, the great humility he actually had in of itself, and was able to, let's just say, mekabel kol adam b'seva panim yafot, greet everyone with like radiance and really grateful radiance in of itself, each person. And many of the great books he writes, I think, unfortunately at that point in time, I think sadly there was a fire that actually took place in Izmir, and some of the books I think did get burned. It's reported over. I think it affected not just him but various other rabbis also at that point in time, which is spoken about on various occasions before here on this series. So that's we have to point out also. So that was known as a main fire, I think, of Izmir in of its time. Now he had great students also, and the students, while they were learning under him, would actually write a lot of his novelties, I think. And I think some of it was actually saved from the fire at that point in time. Now we can actually quote in regards to people that were close to him. That included, I think, among his Talmidim, his students included Harav Daniel Kohen Nahar. He himself, I believe, we also spoke about on various occasions before. Just to say something within regards to Harav Daniel. He lived between 1804 to 1881. He was not just a great rabbi in Izmir, he was also a great rabbi in the holy city of Tzfat. He was the author of the Yad Hanahar, respectively, also, and he went on to have very great descendants, also, which would also have to point out. That was among one of his students, which I have to point out, and I think his brother Harav Rahamim, Aryeh Avraham Haya Harav Nisim Moshe. He was also Shage et Sefer Siftei Ranot uben achoto Haya Gvi Yitzchak Kohen Milkado. So he was very close to, I think, through marriage, to Rab Mir Kado also, respectively. Now it's reported over that the great rabbi who we're speaking about today, Harav Rachim Abraham Aryesh, passed away on the 23rd of Elul in the English year 1839. It's actually interesting. Harav Chaim Pelagi would actually eulogize him in his funeral. It's reported, chronicled over. Now among his descendants includes his son Rav Chaim Yosef HaKohen Aryesh. He was the author of the great kuntres called Kol Rina, something we've spoken about on various occasions before. He was also a shliach tzibur, a chazan, a cantor, and that we also have to point out within regards to him. And much more can be said about him, respectively. I think we actually spoke about him on various occasions before. I recommend everyone to look over on the stories of Tzaddikim section inside this series over here, where it actually chronicles over within regards to various of the famous people of yesteryear. Now it's actually interesting, we have to point out also, his daughter was, I believe, Katan Chanola. and she would get married to Rabbi Daniel HaKohen Nahar, who we spoke about just beforehand, and very much close to Rabbi Moshe HaKohen Nahar, the author of the Kiseh, I believe, Charta. It's actually interesting. Rabbi Moshe HaKohen Nahar would pass away in 1894, right at the end of the 19th century. He was also not just a great rabbi in Izmir, he was also in Tiberias and a great rabbi in Tzfat, two of the four holy cities of Israel, respectively. Also, I think, had various different importances in of itself, so we have to point that out. Also, so that's it's very, very interesting. Okay, let's explore about some of his colossal works, including the Siftei Ranot, which is Drushim, various different sermons with regards to Shabbat, respectively the various festivals, including Shavuot, and so on and so forth. There are various other importances, let's just say. Then another one of his Torah colossal books called the Reshit Bechorei. There was much more we could actually say about the previous book. I just stated the preface over there. Reshit Bechorei was a Shita al Masechet Bechorot, I think, respectively, once again connected to Rabbi Chaim Pelagi, if I'm not mistaken, possibly also connected to Rabbi Avraham Pelagi. Chiber al Hilchot the Smachot Lemaharam Merottenberg. I think there was a book that was connected to that. Chibur al Hilchot Tumat Kohanim Betor, concentrating on Torah, also respectively within regards to that we have to point out. So he was great. Just to recap within regards to his brilliance, he was part of the Bet-Din of the Kirei Lev, Rabbi Yosef Chazan, also respectively the Rishon LeZion of Jerusalem, I believe the 18th one. He was very close. He had the Talmud called Rabbi Daniel HaKohen Nahar, would go on to marry his daughter. He was one of the great Chazanim, one of the great poets of Izmir in of his time, and was really known as a brilliant person in Turkey. And it's actually chronicled over. There's actually varying opinions over here, I have to state, that seemingly passed away. It might have been a mistake actually over here. Somewhere it says 1839, somewhere else says 1893. So I think it was 1839, but I'll just have to double check it also. But I think it was around, I think around the year 1839, if I'm not mistaken, he passed away, but I have to double check that. Somewhere else it write down 1893, that might have been a mistake. Also, which I have to point out. So I think he was buried in Izmir also. And Siftei Ranot would include various Drushim on the various different festivals, Jewish festivals, also respectively, which we also have to point out also. So so who was, remember we've spoken about possibly at least about 150 great rabbis actually hailed from Turkey of yesteryear, so that we also have to point out properly over here. Yeah, his book, the Siftei Ranot, was actually printed in the year 1862, so I'll still have to let's say get some clarity within regards to the year he actually passed away. So if anyone has more clarity, please let me know. I would love to hear more within regards to that, just to be precise. Within regards, seemingly, I think it was in the year 1839 he passed away. So that means this, if he passed away in 1839, this book, Siftei Ranot, would have been printed more than 20 years after he passed away. That's what we have to point out. I think an auction website will say he passed away in 1839. Another place also will actually state that in of itself. So we have to point that out. So yeah, very interesting. Let's explore a few of the highlights from his Torah great book, including over here. Melamed she'ein ma'aseh Rut Pritzut shekavnata livnot et Beit Yisrael. This one, the teachings over here, I think, come from page number 24 over there. Then another teaching from page number 43. Melamed al chiyuv lispud la'adam kasher v'lav davka letalmid chacham. Another teaching. Melamed lefi shachar ba stom pasku ha'ovrim v'nitbatel ma Abraham tzadka. And one last teaching. Melamed mitzvot olchot sefer Torah v'mi shenolad lo ben. This is another teaching, I think, coming from page number 9 in the book, once again printed in the year 1893. Now, friends, we're a community here. We're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear. Now, if you descend from any of the great rabbis we are speaking about, please don't hesitate. Send me an email. I would love to hear more information. We like to speak about the great Rahamim, especially at the time of their Hilulah. That's very, very important for this channel in of itself, respectively. Happens to be Hilullah over here, and obviously the date of the 23rd of El, respectively. So yes, I think it's very, very important. We are nearing a staggering 7,500 subscribers, which is an achievement I never thought we will reach. at the moment. So if you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos, share these videos also to other people. If you descend from any of the great rabbis, or you feel we should speak about another great rabbi of yesteryear, please, once again, let me know who. We'll try and look into the great Rachamim and, really try and maybe make this happen within regards to, if we haven't recorded already. So I recommend everyone to, one thing I recommend everyone to do is to look at the channel and look at the previous videos recorded, and also educate yourself, educate to others, share to other people also these great tidbits, and wishing you blessings here from Israel. So take care, thanks for spending the time for watching, and Shavua Tov, and have a great day. Thank you.